Morning, afternoon, everyone. So, sorry about yesterday. I got part of the reading out to you all. Then, obviously, I had to. My husband came home from work, so focusing there. So, back to the reading from yesterday. We are here as the voice of truth and the voice of divine. When I was on the phone to my husband when I was recording the reading yesterday, these cards came out together. So we are the voice of truth. We are the voice of the divine. Never forget that. Ladies out there who have stood up for me, and gents, of course, thank you. You mean more to me than you will ever possibly know. And the last 4 years has meant so much to me in terms of emotionally keeping me going through what was one of the hardest times, I think, in recorded history in a long time, next to the Second World War. And it was emotionally taxing for so many people out there. And me being the healer and empath and feeling other people's energy, I couldn't not do anything. I had to step in and elevate so many people and help them heal. When I came home, I'm the one that crashed down and could, I had to transmute out all that grief energy from the planet of people collectively. And I had so many spirits of those crossed over come to me as well. That's part of my job as a medium, is to bring in healing for the spirit realm too. And that's what I've been doing wherever I go as well. I had all the spirits of those then, not just the people grieving in the living of their lost ones, but I also had the spirits of the lost ones who passed away in the pandemic come to me. Yes, even Queen Elizabeth's spirit came through. And I was asked of a particular duty on behalf of the UK to elevate everyone during that funeral service, keep everyone going. As there are a lot of people grieving. So I was brought in on a duty of service there too, for grief healing, okay? So when I'd done my duties, and I was also on that particular day of the coronation managing something very important with my daughter too, as a mum, helping another mother through loss. And I had to deal with all that while healing through bowel cancer myself. And it's never easy. It is never, ever, ever, ever easy. But when I came home and I sat down, my body just transmuted it first and foremost and helped all these people heal and achieve peace. But also, it impacted me, obviously, as I'm grief counselling, as so many people, and many counsellors will agree when they're dealing with a lot of other people's difficulties day in, day out, it does impact you, and you need a release too. And that's why the last 4 years I shut myself away, and I know they wanted to put me in isolation, and I crashed. I completely crashed after spending all this time healing so many other people and aiding so many other people as a natural born healer. And all my life since childhood. And I've always been there for everybody else. I've been very, I've never had much. But that's not from a lack of mentality. It's because other people with lack mentality came to my door. I hadn't got a lot to give, but I gave my last anyway. I always have done. And they came to my door, dropped down their problems on my door. I gave them healing, transmutation, helped and comforted them, and then they all went away again. And I was left with the energy to go, right, okay, and I transmute it out. But there are days when I forgot to, and it impacted me as well. So that's for me as a personal lesson, not to allow so many people to dump their problems on my door, dump their dramas. That's why I'm very particular who I allow through my front door. I've never liked drama anyway, but in terms of the last 4 years when I crashed and everyone tried, there were individuals that was trying to say I was nuts, you know, and I was crazy and all these different things, low mentality stuff, from lack of understanding, which, you know, some are working on right now on that one. It impacted me and I crashed completely. I wasn't, nothing wrong with my, you know, mentality. It's because I spent a lifetime helping others heal. And I got to a breaking, everyone reaches a breaking point, and I got to that breaking point it was after the passing of Jim. That was one of the big ones for me, as I'd known him since I was 4 years old, in and out of each other's life, same as my husband actually. We've known each other most of our lives. You know, our families have always been closely living together, or, you know, we've known each other without knowing each other. It's amazing to see when you see it, but it was a case of I've spent a lifetime aiding others, and then I came home into the silence, and I went and I crashed, and my emotions just went, no more, I can't do this anymore. I've helped so many for very little appreciation, and I dropped and I crashed. And thankfully some wonderful people online saw and took the time, and, you know, were helping me heal through things too. And I want to say I love you all and thank you. You mean more to me than you think. All those spiritualists out there that, like myself, have been targeted over the years for spiritual beliefs. And remember, spirituality is knowing all religions meet at a center point. Yeah, if you take a piece of religion in all directions, you research religions, and their main principle is belief in a higher power, whether it's a God or a deity or what have you, or the universe. It's all belief and a faith in a higher power. That's why when I speak to deeply devout Christians that go to church every Sunday, and they sit and go, well, I don't believe in your job as a medium, as a healer. And I sit and go, say, hang on a minute. You believe in God, don't you? He can't be seen, or she, or it, or they. You can't see that individual, yet you know it's there. You have that faith that there is something of a higher power. Same as, you know, what is the thing of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit? Spirit being the key. Even the Bible mentions about spirits. You know, you look at all religions as a whole, and their all common denominator is a belief in a higher power. Whether it's the universe, whether it's God, whether it's a deity, you know, it's all belief in a higher power. Even the dark side has to believe in a higher power, or in their case, a lower power, you know, under, you know, hell, basically. That's their belief, not mine. But all religions come back to that same one point, the belief in a higher power and of faith in something higher than humans. That's spirituality. And going back into my own Akashic records, as someone quite rightly said, do you know the story of Adam and Eve, the apple and the snake? Do you know what the apple represented? Knowledge. The apple represented knowledge, belief, faith in a higher power. So when they take a bite out the apple is knowledge. That's why we've got the apple tree, you know, and I was researching into the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Gethsemane, and all right back to the beginning of the very first humans on earth, Adam and Eve, which is what the Bible portrays, you know. But there are pieces missing of the Bible. The Bible, the Bible we know today, and this, you know, I'm not going to cause upset in religion. That's not what I'm here for. I was christened against my will Roman Catholic. I joined the Church of England. Again, two very important reasons why the Queen of England made Church of England apologise during her funeral service and mention my documents. But I got sexually abused by both religions. Or I know somebody who got sexually abused by Christianity. I know somebody who got, myself, I got abused by Roman Catholic faith. The Christian faith targeted my brother, my sister, my kids. The Jehovah's Witnesses have got one of the biggest paedophile and trafficking rings there is. That's why me and my best friend spent all the last 20 years trying to shoo away the Jehovah's Witnesses from a friend of mine who I've now had to say goodbye to, but for her safety. There's documentaries on it. You have to look at religion very carefully. Religion awfully, religion is not based on sexual abuse. There's only a fraction that take religion and misuse it for their own personal gain. There's a fraction of them, and it's the fraction of them I had to voice in for many. And this is not me digging at religion in any way, shape or form. Like I said, I have my own rosary beads, which has Jesus on it. I'm not dark practitioner. I never have been, never will be. I believe in a higher power. I believe in a higher faith. But you look at spirituality and it is a belief in many faiths. Reiki, Buddhism, Hinduism. You look at all these different faiths and they all talk about this battle between light and dark. Then you look within. God is within us all. The universe is within us all. That battle in a battle between the light and the dark within. Finding the balance between the masculine and the feminine. And you find that balance within and then you reflect it outwards. As healers, that's what we do anyway. As twin flames, one of us will be darker than the other. I'm made of light, pure heart, pure intentions. My twin flame is more darker than me. He represents the dark. I represent the light. Together, we bring a balance that should be elevating everybody on earth. That's the whole purpose to this, twin flame unions. Hence why we are the voice of truth and the voice of the divine. Right back to the beginning, but you look at, I've been attacked all my life for having spiritual beliefs, all the last 20 odds, the whole of my children's lives. But I was born of a Roman Catholic faith, being Irish, Southern Irish, Roman Catholics. In England, back to the times of Queen Victoria, you had the Roman Catholic faith. If you watch the Netflix program Victoria, it gives a little insight into what was going. That's why I voiced in and said nothing's changed since the Victorian era. But many faiths have that same connotation at the end. The belief and faith in a higher power. So when someone comes to me and they say, I don't believe in mediumship. Well, you believe in the Bible, don't you? Well, yes. But there's your faith in the Holy Spirit. There's your faith in spirit. So why can't you believe the mediums that bring forward the messages from spirit? The faith in a higher power. Mediums have faith in a higher power. We're not low vibrational. We're not dark energy. Some are out there. I am not one of them. I am made of pure purpose, pure light, with a message for the world. That's why I voiced it in. There was a particular medium from MySpace days named Satine Julie. And she said my tears would change the world. Maybe they do. Who knows? My tears have been counted by the angelic realm. I cry when I empathize. That's me transmuting energy out for many. I can't stand suffering of many. I can't even watch suffering on the TV or a movie that's got suffering in it. I have to look away. My husband has to say, oh, there's a dark part coming up, look away. And I look away until it's finished. I am that energy sensitive. But I am deeply spiritual of many beliefs, and I've often been attacked for that. Those that go to church religiously, some of them, not all, I'm not saying all, I'm not here to upset religion at all. Some of them create some of the darkest things in human history. Some of them use religion as a guise to practice dark magic. I've caught them over the years. And they had the audacity to turn around and accuse me of being a devil worshipper. So I gave those social workers my books and said, if you think I'm a devil worshipper, go read my books. Come back and tell me otherwise. They went to read my books, came back and said, sorry for wasting your time. You do a good job. Keep going. So I've been falsely accused of things for years that were never true. So many lies were told about me based off other people that it stopped revealing the truth of who I am. People were so quick to write about me based on who they thought I was, or go tell others things about me based on what they thought, which was as vibrational as they were at the time. So if somebody was in lower vibration, they will give a story of me based on their energy vibration. But most of it was false. I've never hurt anyone. I've never hurt children. In fact, I aid people and children and adults, and always have done. I was a domestic abuse survivor myself, who trained in aiding others through domestic abuse. That's on record, by the way. A safe house. Before my husband moved in, I was a safe house for domestic abuse survivors. I've literally pulled people out of safe houses because they felt unsafe in them. I've took them back here and took care of them. I've had police bring in individuals to my door to keep them safe from their abusers. And I've done that all my life. I've had children come to the door when they've needed help, when they felt no one was listening. That's been my whole life, and I've been like that since childhood. I was helping the homeless by the time I was 6. Helping the elderly, and many in England will remember the charity Help the Aged. And I was helping that charity as a child too. I was put in charity service very early on to help others. And I've done so my whole life. And that's out of a kind heart, no other reason. I've never made money out of it. I've just gone through life being kind. And as my son said to me, what's he say? Words were, where did being kind get you, Mum? You got really hurt badly. Really, really, really hurt badly. And I listened to my kids and I went, you're right, it did, Daniel. But it also means that I'm a good person. It also means that my heart's fulfilled at the end of the day. Yes, I got very hurt badly, my heart space especially when those that I gave to didn't reciprocate or to an equal balance. But I can walk with my conscience clear, my head held high, knowing I did my best. That's all you can ever do in life, as I say to my kids. And it's coming up to exam season, and we've just had everyone in England release GCSEs. It doesn't matter about what grade you get. You've got your whole lives. It doesn't matter. As long as you've done your best, your mind is good. Because that's more important than any piece of paper. Because you can go through the rest of your life. You can choose in your 60s to take GCSEs or college courses. As long as your mind is good, that's what's important. You know, they tried to say I was crazy, nuts, insane, and I was mentally unstable. No, I was healing, grieving. Since when is mental instability on par with grieving? That's not right. And in the Victorian era, I was locked away in a mental asylum for being a medium. And how many mediums out there, if you go through your own Akashic records, you'll find in the Victorian era, women like myself, and you look at the real damage of the Victorian era towards women and children. I was put away in the Victorian era for being a medium. And they tried to do that again to me in this life. Say I was mentally unstable. What, for being a medium? For having a belief and faith in a higher power, listening to the spirit realm, healing many out of the grace of my heart, in kindness, in duty and grace. That doesn't make me mentally unstable. That's why I wrote into Synergy about a certain institution that's no longer open, but it's open to paranormal investigators. Hence why I'm going back to deal with the spirit of Ian Brady that was housed there. And yes, he did go through carrying on his work in the spirit realm. There are lots of spirit children still trapped there, and every time I go there, I help others achieve peace, those spirit children. Don't think once somebody passes away that what they did in life is finished. Oh no, they carry on. And that's why, since I was 18, when somebody was having paranormal problems, I go to the houses, I do a house cleanse, such as one of my friends was having problems with her children when she was little, of the spirit of the workhouse in Shrewsbury, known as the flax mill. That Victorian owner of that flax mill was carrying on its work, scaring children. And if you go through the history of the flax mill, that's why I used to go and cleanse the flax mill day on behalf of those that were working on running of it at the time, before it became apartments and buildings, and it's absolute sacrilege. It's the world's first, the flax mill is the world's first skyscraper, the Shrewsbury Flax Mill, and they turned it into shops, offices and buildings, and we all said museum. It was owned by the National Lottery Arts. It was funded, and at that time I was helping cleanse a building down. Absolute sacrilege what they've done to the very first, world's first skyscraper. And I went to cleanse that building down regularly for them. And the flax mill owner of the Victorian era, when it was built, the Georgian Victorian era, and he was a workhouse owner in the spirit realm, he was going to the houses surrounding that building, scaring the children. One of the houses at the time happened to be one of my friends' places, and her children were very little. Phil's children, who passed in the pandemic, and I was taking care of his disability since I was 4 years old. And he died of bowel cancer, riddled all over, misdiagnosed, 2 weeks to live. I had to voice in on behalf of his disabled mother. He was broken at the funeral, and I spent a long time elevating many. So I've known them all for a very long time in Shrewsbury. So these dark entities of past carry on their lives doing the same in the spirit realm. It's where I go up and down England and have done since I was 18, cleansing down these buildings. That's why I've got to go and deal with Newsham Park and the spirit of Ian Brady, because he's gone back to where he was housed, and there are 5,000 children spirit trapped there. Every time I go there, I help a few more escape him. That's why I've got one of the best photos I think I've ever seen in paranormal of the spirit of a disabled individual that was housed there. This is why I go from building to building, cleansing down buildings, helping as many children and adults. And these dark entities usually go for children. So if you've got a child with nightmares, night terrors, there's a reason. You should contact a reputable medium that can help cleanse down your house and get rid of it away from your children. That's what I do, house cleanses, building cleanses. I remove these spirits from children, adults, from even when they get possessed. I've even had to help with that. I've never seen one exorcism of one particular gentleman who's lived up the other side of town. His body, I've never seen a body covered in so many scratches and attacks from spirit. And he lived where the old, really old mental health asylum was. It's on the other side of town where I used to live, and it's just crumbling. When I was a kid, it was when we used to go for picnics there, it's just a rubble. And there was a new housing estate built there, to which he moved into, and on the grounds, it's always the grounds that are haunted as well. And he was haunted by a dark nurse at the time, and a dark entity of the time. And I have never seen anyone covered in so many scratches. So I had to help exorcise this entity, and I've never seen a sofa move. You know, like in the movies, where when you see these possessed buildings, and you see, like, take for instance 30 East Drive, and I've been there and done some work there and cleansing that down too. Take for instance 30 East Drive, when the film When the Lights Went Out, we watched it again recently actually, and these units or these sofas move, and you think, oh, they've been Hollywoodized up. Well, I've seen firsthand a 3-piece suite move from one side of the room to the other so viciously, and I had to go in and deal with that. And this guy that I helped cleanse down, and he was a medium as well, I cleansed him down, and he was covered in body scratches. So don't knock the mediums who do good. I've been doing good for England since I was 18 and targeted for it. So be mindful is all I'm saying, you know. I'm not here to offend anyone who's deeply religious. Like I said, born into a Roman Catholic faith, christened against my mother's will, a Roman Catholic, and then went to the Church of England, then grew up after finding, you know, some individuals in the Church of England sexually abusing people. And I ended up in spirituality as a spiritual faith, you know. But that, going back to that core thing of, well, in religion, if you believe in God, you can't see it, or the universe, and you believe in a higher power. I work for that higher power. When I bring in messages, it's the voice of truth, the voice of divine, the voice of God, and the voice of God is within us all, in our DNA. The God particle that CERN have spent a lot of money looking for. The big joke of it, it's within us all. They spent all that money for nothing. All they had to do was come and talk to us DNA specialists. They spent a lot of time wasting a lot of money to look for that God particle. The God particle is found within us all. So, Pisces. This is for my Pisces community who've helped the last 4 years. I want to say thank you. Yes, we are the Divine Feminines. We are the healers, here to bring life lessons to those that don't learn. Okay? Maybe you have that in your life too. Some individuals that don't want to learn their life lessons, don't want to learn from the Divine Feminines who were sent in to heal many. This one's for you. Thank you. Okay? I appreciate you all. Yes, there was a Pisces, Air Aquarius cusp Pisces that was not good to me. That's what you're picking up on. They're not good to me at all, despite me always being there for her. Okay. So, help people learn their life lessons too. You all have the same. Remember, we're all on this same life path to elevate many as we can as Divine Feminines. Divine Masculines are usually the darker ones, lower vibrational ones. That's why couldn't Destiny swap with me, because I'm the qualified healer on a spiritual journey. That's what we're here for. We're all on a spiritual journey to help as many as we can elevate. See, they're trying to mess around with my third eye now. They can pack it in. That's why they were trying to drain my energy and block my third eye and steal from me. Steal from the Divine Feminine. It can be shared, but not stolen. Exactly. Yes. Media involvement. Now, in England, the media is actually helping to tell the truth for once. You know, the media has always been known to gossip about the entertainment industry, and you know, the paparazzi in the 80s, as we all know, were targeting the royal family the most. That's why I said I'd give them a job to do, help voice the truth of England, because we're all tired of being targeted. You know, the press even targeted my autistic son after he'd been paedophiled. Or someone, you know, the paedophile, rephrase that before anyone starts. The paedophile that lived over the road from me was targeting my son. And instead of helping me safeguard him, they sprawled it all over the front of the paper without my permission. That's not good press. Not safeguarding an autistic individual. That's not good press. Good press is safeguarding and helping voice the truth so we can help many more. And, you know, the media, I'd like to thank actually the decent media that's helping us voice the truth across England. You're all heading for abundance too, just as I've got piles of abundance to give and share. But I'm being very careful what I share and who I share it with. I've got a massive abundance coming in, obviously, with the cure for cancer. That is my abundance. That is my justice for them nearly ending my life with cancer that I should never have had. But I choose to then share that with others healers so we can help teach everybody how to create a cure for cancer. And only the healers, it was intended for the healers. It was never intended for the pharmaceutical to earn from. As we know, the pharmaceutical industry has been going far less time than the healers. You'll go through history of healers around the planet to see it. So, we're the ones with the abundance. And the media, the decent media, is helping us voice the truth. Thank you. You'll all get your abundance too for helping us voice the truth. As even the UN said, you know, the media does get bad rap quite a bit. But in England, for once, the media is helping us voice the truth. And thank you to those that are. because it's helping saving our nation. You're just confirming exactly what I picked up on it, why I had to voice it all forward anyway. And with schools in disability, as I noticed one media outlet were voicing about the biggest percentage of those that failed their GCSEs have got disabilities. Again, don't worry, I voiced that in 3 years ago for change, as they did the same to my kids. That's why I pulled my son out of the educational system, homeschool him, did work experience. Remember, I used to do nursery nursing as well, trained in teaching in certain aspects and ways, and homeschooled him because he was self-harming. And we managed to get him through some GCSEs recently, and he passed, and I'm proud of him, and he's doing his apprenticeship and he's doing wonderfully. But what I went through with my kids, the exam figures in England have just been confirmed. It's the same figures all over. What I went through with my kids is still happening. Nothing's changed. I wrote those documents and nothing's changed. Can you please tell me why that is so? Those exam figures that have just been released have confirmed the educational system once more let down disability. I know why. I voiced in why. I'm the one that had to voice in all these kids in disability were being let down for the last 25 years. In our generation, if you had disabilities, you were seen as a naughty kid or someone with the ADHD, given a clip round the ear hole and back to it. That's low vibrational to think that, by the way. The educational system has let down disability again. I voiced this in 3 years ago, by the way. What's changed in 3 years? See? It's got to change. It has, because all these disabled children are being let down, being treated far less than their worth. Not by us as parents, not by us as care providers, by the policies that put in place not to have a better educational system for disability. That's why I brought my voice of truth in as a trained care professional. And all these disabled children growing up for the last 23 years came to me for help, weren't being supported correctly, or their parents came to me for lack of diagnosis for their disabilities. And I aided many families get diagnoses before my kids were diagnosed. You want the truth? You want the truth? You couldn't even begin to imagine what I've lived through. However, it's time the educational system at primary level had better training in disability. That's what I had to voice in. The primary school teachers, as we know, weren't trained in disability correctly. I voiced this in 3 years ago. What has changed? Why have they not changed it? That's why I asked for an investigation. If primary school teachers are not trained how to spot disability correctly, this is where I come in as a care trained professional. My sleeves are rolling up. There we go, ready. If primary school teachers aren't trained how to spot disability correctly, despite disability training ombudsmans offering them training, and they're only given a 1-hour syllabus at the teacher training level to learn all disabilities and all characteristics. That's the big joke of it all. I voiced in the truth. If they're only given an hour in the whole university syllabus at teacher training level, at primary school teaching level, how to aid children with difficulties, and then they put them in as teachers at primary school, how are they going to learn those children and help them through by the time they get to GCSE level if they've only learned an hour's training in disability and how to manage it? That's the fault of the system. all these media outlets that have been voicing in, and the GCSE results are once more showing the letdown in disability. I can tell you the reason I voiced it in 3 years ago, because they did the same to my children, especially my son. It led him to nearly ending his life because primary schools weren't trained to spot disability correctly. Doctors were paid not to diagnose them. A delay in diagnosis causes severe mental health needs, self-harm. No GCSEs. Oh, I spotted it. I really did, on every level. That's why I was highly respected for what I voiced in, because it was the truth. 3 years have gone down the line and nothing's changed. Those GCSEs are still showing results of these children being let down across the nation in disability. Yet the disability care providers, i.e. myself, all came forward to say, look, you're not treating these kids correctly in school. Why is that? Because they're not trained properly. This is where it all starts. I voiced it in, saying from the moment those disabled children are born, the system does not support them in education correctly. As a trained care professional, I spotted it right throughout my children's lives, and they were let down to the point I ended up homeschooling my son, taught him more in those 18 months during my healing of my bowel cancer and while I had bowel cancer. I taught him more in those 18 months than the educational system could help him understand in 15 years. The training ombudsmen, that's why I researched it all and did my research before I wrote those documents and contacted the training ombudsmen for the schools. I contacted every person that I could in disability to find out where all these kids were being let down. And because I was seeing it one angle, and then the non-corrupt in the NHS were going, yeah, you are right, we're all seeing this. You get them to change policy. These kids are suffering. That's what led in the pandemic to a massive amount of disability suicides. Many of them my friends' children. So those lies in Parliament have got to stop. Those policies have got to change. Because once more, the biggest sector in the educational system and GCSEs and who let those children down falls upon what again? Untrained professionals in teaching. And it's not the teacher's fault. The fault lies with policy. If they go to teacher training when they leave school and they go to uni to be a teacher, yeah, and they're only given an hour in the syllabus at teacher training to learn about all disabilities, all characteristics, how to support them, then they leave university to go to be a teacher. How can they teach those children and support them through education? Biggest failures in the system once more comes in the hands of failures to disability. That's why I voiced it in. You tell me what's changed since I wrote those documents. As other teachers told me, other teachers who were working with my children at college level quit their jobs after they all hoped my documents would make a difference. They were all praying those documents would actually do some good for our nation, for a change. And when they went, nothing's changed. They quit their jobs. That's why there's such a high turnover in the care industry. I wrote all of this. I'd redesigned a whole new healthcare system that put disability first in mind, because so many of these kids are being let down. And I protect kids. I aid children for a living. I've been a primary school nursery teacher. Shall I give you the jobs that I've done? So the very first job I did was a pizza place. Yeah, that's why the social workers came and threatened my kids say your mum's feeding you nothing but pizza, or it'll be worse for you in the long run and worse for her. Those are what child social services are used to threaten people. I was being threatened. My children, as children, were being threatened because we voiced the truth. As a care professional, I voiced the truth since I was about 20. We're 25 years later and nothing's changed other than it's gotten progressively worse. And once more, the biggest sector in education, disability, got let down again. It's not right. This is why I requested change to policy, and the only way we're going to change policy is if the government keep failing disability sector, is take their asses to court and get those policies changed. It's the only way we're going to do it. I've worked a lifetime on this subject, so I should know. I support children. I keep their minds going. They're trained in. So, the jobs, animal care. That's why I've got holistics in animal care. This is never-ending bonus to what we've got here. I don't realise what I've got. I worked in animal care, so I spent the last 15, 20 years holistically healing animals. Less pharmaceutical, more healing animals. I worked in the childcare industry, into disability, into elderly, because I noticed a pattern from birth. You are born into this world against a system that doesn't benefit the people. And you die. And this system doesn't benefit the people. Look at it, from birth to end of life. And end of life care in the pandemic, I think, was one of the biggest jokes I've ever seen. The amount of people that were dying in plain and simple neglect was god-awful. Absolutely god-awful. Again, I had to voice the neglect of elderly people during the pandemic. Care homes. I went from every angle right through the entire system and spotted it so I could bring forward the truth of many. From the moment you're born, the system sets you up to fail, no matter the capacity. When you die, the system still sets you up to fail. This is where we change the system. And still, the air we breathe is being poisoned. Chemtrails. Stop. We don't want to breathe it in. We're all breathing it in.